Hello and welcome to the weekly Wraparounds. I'm Gordon Goodenough, joined by Eric Brook and special guest Matt Meyer, head coach of the Brisbane Lightning women's ice hockey team. We are, of course, Hockey Hype Australia. You can find us online at hockeyhypeaustralia.com.au, on the socials at hockeyhypeaus, and you can watch this video a replay either on Facebook or YouTube, and you can listen to us in podcast form on Spotify podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Apple podcasts. First of all, welcome from a rink that I'm quite familiar with Matt, as we mentioned just briefly earlier, Acacia Ridge, Ice World. How are things?
Things are great, man. Yeah, appreciate you having me on. We were saying before, I don't think the rink's changed a heck of a lot since you were here in high school.
Yeah, it was. I did ask if they still had the Stephen Bradbury, home of Stephen Bradbury, sign out the front, which it used to have, but that's not the case.
It's probably one of the only changes.
What's with the erasure of Stephen Bradbury?
Who knows? Just time to move on, I suppose.
And Eric, you're going to be in a fresh new studio next week. You're moving house. Thank you for coming on despite all the chaos.
That's all right. G'day, GG. G'day, Matt. Yes, this will be my last episode in this studio. I've got some big plans for the jerseys behind me, so might be able to get some more jerseys. I ordered 3 jerseys this week. The Ashita jersey for the Melbourne Ice men's team, the blue Adelaide Rush jersey, and I'm waiting for the Inferno jersey to arrive, which may now be arriving in February instead of Christmas.
No Brisbane Lightning jersey there.
Yeah, there's an important one missing from your collection, Eric.
I haven't seen any inflated by it, man. I'm quite happy to. Quite happy to send some freight your way.
I'll see what I can get figured out.
Good evening, Phil Taylor, as well. Thank you. Drop us a question too, if you like, in the chat, and we'll put head coach Matt Meyer on the spot. But first
Before
of all,
you go, GG. Sorry,
yeah.
GG. I was just going to ask, considering that you were talking about skating at Acacia Ridge for school sport, were you skating? Were you at the canteen? Were you just watching everybody else? What was the story?
Oh no, I was skating. I'd not well, but I made the most of my time. I was like, I'm paying for this amount of time. I'm going to be on the ice for every second of it, and yeah, it's great. That feeling of taking the skates off at the end of like a long, kind of shift. Feel like you can jump like over buildings. It's unreal. Speaking of skates, I hope you know where I'm going with this, Matt. The captain of your team, Kelly Costa, her skates can tell some stories. Tell us a little bit about her skates.
In locker rooms for sure. She's still wearing the same skates that she's been wearing forever. And that stat that you put up over the weekend, or that you shared with us about, last time the Lightning beat Sydney in Sydney, Kelly had an assist on the first goal. She was in the same skates. She actually found a photo of that game, and she had the exact same skates on, and that was back in 2014, and they looked pretty weathered back then, so God knows how old they are. But secret, and I don't know if she'll be happy with me sharing it, but she has new skates, and she's heading back to Canada for Christmas for a visit, and she's going to try them out. So you never know, it might be an end of an era there, but they haven't let her down yet.
So she hasn't broken the new skates in yet? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know if she could just even fathom putting on a different pair of skates. They're kind of like part of her foot at this point, right? So probably some roots growing in there. But yeah, it's just hockey players are weird, right? Everybody's kind of got their own thing, like, Crosby and his cup and that sort of thing. Everybody likes to hold on to these things, and when something fits and it's comfortable, you don't really want to go away from it. And ask anybody that plays, like, new skates suck. Just it's hard to get used to it, right? So I think she's on her 3rd or 4th set of blades or something. She actually had to change the trucks on the bottom of the skate out because the original skate didn't have interchangeable blades, and yeah, they've been around. So
Yeah.
I actually think I might have been at that game at the old Sydney Ice Arena, because 2014 was my first season in the AI, and then the 2014-2015 season, which was after that, it was my first season of A-Dub. So I may have been at that game at Sydney Ice Arena.
Yeah. It's I tell you what, if we ever get like a Hall of Fame, like a physical location Hall of Fame displays, Kelly Costa's skates would be a real cool
be
addition.
a staple.
But just getting into the hockey from the weekend, these were the standings heading in to the weekend. The Adelaide Rush on top with 8, Perth Inferno tied on 8, Sydney on 7, Melbourne on 6, and the Lightning on 1. I know we'd spoken before, Matt, about how it's probably too early to get into the must-win territory, but how important was it? What was kind of the message to the team heading into big weekend against Sydney?
Well, I think it goes back a little bit, right? So 3 losses in a row, 1 overtime loss, and arguably our best played game against Adelaide on the Sunday. And it wasn't the team. It was really, I probably have to shoulder a lot of the blame for the performance. It was, you start a season and you have a bit of a vision, and you're trying some things, and you see where you're going, and you think it's going to be something great, and well, it wasn't. So the girls bought in. They worked hard. No fault on their part at all. I mean, we got some very talented hockey players on our team, and right from cadet to vet, they're bought in. They're awesome. Fantastic group. Couldn't ask for a better group. And watching that game tape after the Saturday game, where the game I refer to as the Adelaide assault, it just became very clear that we need a drastic change. We need to change tact. We need to change systems. It was a late night, and it was an early morning, and it was a long day before game 2, and we had a big meeting, and the girls all bought in. We watched a ton of video, and we just talked about, discovering a new identity as a team. And just like always, they bought in, and yes, coach, and away we went. And, like I said, we arguably played one of our better games of the season against Adelaide on that Sunday, and, held them out, and it was a tight game, and all special teams goals in that game. And the feeling after that game was palpable. It was different in the group. It just felt more like we found ourselves, and riding that wave going into Sydney was huge, right? And did our homework and studied Sydney, and there's that psychological, well, geez, Sydney beat Melbourne, and Melbourne beat us, and so now we're going down there, and that's always something that plays in the back of minds and things like that. But yeah, we're confident, and yeah, I think it showed. Like we played some good hockey, and getting into must-win territory. I wouldn't say it to the team at the time, but I definitely felt that way. You got to have a good showing. You need points on the board, and got to claw your way back up into the ladder, and that's what we did. So yeah, it was a fantastic weekend. It was great hockey. Sydney's a great team. It was a battle. I really enjoyed it, every moment of it.
So when it came, sorry, JG, go.
No, you go, mate. You go.
So, Matt, talking about that Saturday game against Adelaide, you watched it live with your own 2 eyes from the bench, and then you watched, I presume, all of it again from the stream. So, did you get the same impression of the game watching it live compared to watching it on the stream? Did you get anything out of the stream that you didn't get live?
You miss a lot of the game live, full stop, right? You're managing a bench, who's up, dealing with players coming off that have tweaks and this, that, and the other thing, and communicating with the defensive group. And so you missed a lot of the game. So, you kind of have a vibe and a pulse on the bench, and you know what's going on. And But when you watch it back, it's considerably different. You get a lot more context, and still a lot of cracks. It looked like a team that was executing something that hadn't been polished or practiced, and that aspect of it. But battle and heart, and we were still pressed very hard. Adelaide's a great team, but you could see the makings of what we wanted, and I think that's probably the biggest piece, right? So, yeah, to answer your question, definitely different. Probably not as good as it felt at the time in the details, but compared to what I watched this past weekend and have rewatched, see massive amounts of growth in a short time. So, yeah, pretty proud of the girls.
So there must have been a wave of emotion when you come from that game on the Saturday against Sunday against Adelaide. Then you went to the Sunday where you went to OT, and then there was the sweep that you just did.
Yeah, much needed. The group felt it, right? Having 1 point on the board, sitting at the bottom of the ladder, and just knowing that we're so much better than where we were sitting. That's the way we felt, right? I think that's always the hard part. And coming off of 4 losses, like, Melbourne's kind of in the same boat right now. It's hard as a coach when you're looking at the talent that you have and the resources that you have, and think about the commitment and the time, and you got sponsors, and you've got people paying. It's just there's a lot of pressure. It's a ton of pressure, but so I think for the girls it was a lot of happiness. Winning's great. Everybody loves winning. That's why we do it. For me, it felt like a lot of pressure was lifted off, and we're back in it. So that's the big piece. We did what we had to do, I guess.
And then, of course, on Saturday, you had the situation with the flights going down to Sydney and the delays. Tell us about that.
I don't know what it is, but in the past 3 years, I can think of 2 seamless travel days. Other than that, we've always just, for some reason, been dealt a bad hand. And, Brisbane's pretty well known for bad weather this time of year. We get storms rolling in all the time, but this was actually Sydney. They had bad weather down on the tarmac, so it was just Sydney that was closing the airport, and delays were stacking up. And we're getting nervous. I mean, we sat there for several hours. You get there at 6 a.m. and you're not leaving until whenever it was, noon, quarter after 12. And you start doing the math in your head with the time change and bus, bags, travel, and it was, we're making contingencies, and we're communicating with the league and the other teams. And funny enough, like, all that stress comes on us. The girls had a great time. They hung out at the airport, had a good feed and good catch up. And they enjoyed just being around each other. So I don't think it was a big deal for them necessarily, but for the managers and the coaches, it's a bit stressful. But I think the reality sunk in when we got on the bus and we started talking about whether or not we needed to get gear out and start getting dressed on the bus and stuff. Thankfully, the traffic wasn't bad. We made it there. Girls were sort of getting into their warm-up gear on the bus and that sort of thing. But, we were able to get there and have a pretty decent warm-up and then take to the ice. And one of the takeaways from it actually was that the girls almost preferred it, instead of the elongated waiting around in the morning and, going to the accoms and sort of getting settled. It was just off the bus into the rink and business. And I think it showed on the ice too. They come out of the gate pretty good. So.
Yeah, definitely seemed to start on time, and you scored two goals early in that first period. Ali Fisher, got 3 goals over the weekend, including those 2 goals in the first period. Sofia Molnarova got her first goal of the season on the Sunday. Kate Barber scored a goal. Like, you're getting some contributions from players that haven't scored yet this season. How much does that kind of have an impact too on their confidence and them getting going as well as the team getting going?
Yeah, it's huge. Probably the only thing that it was great for the girls, right? Like, it's always awesome at the end of the game when you're a coach and you get a puck off the ice and you get to tape it and write first goal or first win or whatever it is. And, you know, you go into the change room and you dish the puck out and the room explodes and everybody's cheering for that player. I mean, there's nothing like it, right? And so to be able to do that for Kate was fantastic. She's been around for a couple of years now, and just great work ethic, great attitude. She's a grinder, and you know, her development has skyrocketed in the last, you know, sort of 12 to 18 months, and took her with us down to Boxall. That it's just great to have around. So those are good moments, but our special teams are getting better. I mean, our stats aren't fantastic. Our power play looked threatening, but we were unable to convert, unfortunately. So, you know, Sydney, I think, is still riding that 100%. Correct me if I'm wrong. They haven't been scored on, shorthanded yet. So great for them. Not sure what magic they have. I mean, I've gone back and watched it several times, and you know, we got lots of looks. We just weren't getting the puck luck. So maybe it's just, you know, luck is on their side. But not to discredit the girls; they're obviously doing a good job. But you know, the looks were there. We just weren't able to convert. And that's probably been one of our biggest challenges as a group this year. Is, you know, hitting the back of the net. I think we're probably the lowest scoring team right now in the league. So definitely a big focus for us in trainings, and what we're looking to do is to get more in the twine. So
as someone who does love stats, perhaps too much, are there stats that you're particularly interested in? You know, when you watch a game and process the action and the chaos, really, what are the things that you kind of gravitate towards as indicators of success, or that, you know, something needs to be tweaked or fixed?
Anything trend related. Stats to me are an indicator, but they can also give you false hope. They can also lead you down a garden path if you put too much weight into them. So you got to take every stat with a grain of salt, right? And I like leading indicator stats, you know, and it's things like, you know, power play performance, you know, those are great. Plus minus for players, you know, what groups are converting and which ones are not, and, you know, potential defensive liabilities. Try and go back and look at, you know, unforced turnovers and these sorts of things. But again, it's not a ride or die thing for me with statistics. I like them as an indicator. And I think when you go back and you look, you know, in the rear view, it's always nice to see growth. That's what you're looking for. You don't want to see regression, but it's ebbs and flows, this game, right? People get hot, people get cold. Goalies get hot, goalies get cold. So that's my biggest thing with stats, is it's just got to take it with a bit of a grain of salt and use it as a leading indicator, or, you know, something that's giving you a trend. And anything that's trending in the right direction doesn't mean that you've got it sorted out. It's just that something's starting to click, and you want to try and find what that magic sauce is and build on it, right? So I know you love stats, and that's it's fantastic from a fan's perspective, and I love diving into those things as well. But as a coach, it's just, you got to be careful with statistics.
On the weekend too, I think Sydney, from my observation, particularly on the Sunday, was that they really struggled to get through the neutral zone and get possession or maintain possession, you know, through the neutral zone. Was that like a specific? It seemed to be, but I now that I've got you here, I can confirm. Was that like a specific kind of strategy of yours to kind of just, you know,
can't give everything away.
Yeah.
You're on the right track, right? And that's something that you know, you think you got to own the middle of the ice. Any hockey team will say that, right? And there's a lot of details that go into that. It's one thing to say it, but it's nothing to execute. So, you know, defending players with angles instead of, you know, straight line attacks. There's all these little things that you do with players, and great growth in that area for our group. And, you know, that's something that's definitely been a focus of ours. It's a big piece of what we're trying to build on right now as a group. So yeah, it's good that you noticed it. It's definitely going to be a key piece of what we're trying to do.
One difference that I noticed in the Saturday game against Adelaide compared to this weekend was that you seem to get out of your defensive end a lot easier, and we're spending a lot more time actually attacking rather than just defending.
Yeah, there's two sides of that, and I think a too aggressive attack can quite often leave you exposed in the neutral zone and provide easy exits for them, and then you don't have the support you need quickly in the defensive end because you've overcommitted your forecheck, and that translates, right? So it's 3 periods of 20 minutes. It's a marathon, not a sprint, and your opportunities will come. And I think that's a big piece for hockey players is you hit the ice every time. You're not going to, if you have the expectation that every shift you're going to go out and score a goal, you're kidding yourself, right? And that's something that's really hard to do with a bunch of alpha, personalities, is to try and tame that and go, like, the opportunity will come, stick with it, stick to the system. Don't blow the zone too early. Like, you own your end of the ice first. And it's a big piece of the game, right? And everybody wants to go out and make a difference. And to me, I'm just as happy if they come off, they've had a shift and they didn't get scored on. That's a win. Celebrate that, right? And you put enough of those together and you play more in their end and you shut down the middle of the ice and you do these things, and the opportunities are going to end up coming. The puck will end up on your stick and hopefully in the back of the net. So it's a long game, right? You can't, like, Adelaide's a high flying offensive team. They're just, pressure, and they've got the pieces to do that. So good on them. But I guess that's where our jobs come in as coaches. We've got to look at the assets that we have and try and put a system together and execute accordingly. And it's just, every team's going to be built different. Can't have a team full of top line scores. It just doesn't work that way, right? And never does. So it's about figuring out your magic, and hopefully we're on the right track. It feels like we are, but yeah.
So on the Saturday, both teams won by 2 goals. You won 3-1 over the Sydney Sirens, of course, and the Adelaide Rush won 7-5 over the Melbourne Ice. Would you say that moving forward, we can expect more kind of 3-1 wins from the Brisbane Lightning as opposed to 7-5? Like, is that kind of the structure that you kind of would like to see?
I much prefer a low-scoring game, yes. Unless it's 7 for us and 0 for them, then go for it. But the parity in the league is such that we can't have that. And I think again, like, it's entertaining. It's great for the fans. 7-5, like, lots of goals, but it's not my favorite style of hockey to play. You're forever trying to outscore your problems, and I think you got to take care of your own end first, right? And it should translate. So, and that's something that I don't think we were doing early on against Melbourne and against Adelaide in the first game. Anyway, we were trying to force too much up the ice, and it just left us exposed. So, there's nothing wrong with a little meat and potatoes red line in hockey every once in a while, and it's effective. It works. It's not super exciting to watch, but gets you the opportunity to control the tempo, your goaltender to see everything, pucks coming in from the outside, like, instead of run, gun, crash the net kind of hockey. If that's happening to us, then we're not executing what we need to do on our back end. Yeah.
And Imogen Perry was had a great weekend, and I know, talking to you beforehand, you talked about her in training, how she looked really good in training. How pleased was she to get her first AWIHL win since 2023?
Goalies love to win. Yeah, no, Imi was great. You could see it in the trainings leading up to it, and she knew it was going to be her weekend, and she was extra dialed in leading up to it, and it showed. Saturday, definitely coming up huge with some really stellar vet kind of style saves, stuff that left me going, how did that not go in? And they've got a few deadly scores on that Sydney squad, and her ability to shut the door and hold them out was key. I think Sunday we played a tighter game and we kept a lot more to the outside. And I think after this, in the second period, maybe there was only 3 shots on in the whole period or something like that. And,
Yep.
you know, and I said, you know, I talked to her between the periods and said, how's it going? She's like, I'm bored. I'm like, well, if you want, I can open it up. She's like, no. So, yeah, like it's a team game. Like, you need your goalie, and especially on the PK, and you know, I think that's probably something that, to the credit of the crews down in Sydney, and they're owed credit. Both the officiating teams that we had down in Sydney were excellent. Probably the best, in my opinion, it's just purely my opinion, but the best officiated games of the season. You know, obvious penalties got called, and everything else just went. And it was good, fast, physical hockey. Let the girls battle for pucks. You know, players getting knocked off pucks weren't being called, and you know, it's just good battle hockey. And I think that should be a good example of the standard going forward. You know, a few of the games that we've had, the 2 games we had in Brisbane, it was, you know, death by referee. It was just everything is getting called, and you know, so I think consistency is something that we're looking for, and something that we need to improve on in Australia. But yeah, big credit out to the crews down in Sydney. They did a fantastic job.
Yeah, I think Brisbane heading into the weekend, the Lightning were the most penalised team in the league. So you spent a little bit less time in the penalty box this past weekend, which...
Yeah, I think we were averaging in our first 4 games 16 and a half minutes a game or something like that. And then this weekend it was like 6 or something like that. Don't quote me, just roughly off the top of my head, but considerable difference, right? And you know, again, some of that's the credit of the crew, but it's also us tightening up and being more responsible in our play. And yeah, it's a big difference, right? And 40% of the up till this weekend, 40% of the goals scored against us were shorthanded, right? And we were shorthanded. So you got to look at that and go, we got to stay out of the box, ladies. We need to tighten this up and be more responsible. So they did a great job of it this weekend.
So, GG, there was a period there which basically went unpenalised except for the last second. You even tried the commentator's curse and nothing happened.
Yeah, no, I'd observed it because it was something I was cognizant of, like looking at the stats before the game. It's like, okay, we're going to see a healthy dose of the Sirens power play. That's just what the statistics kind of, you know, showed.
See,
but
stats could be misleading.
Yeah. But yeah, it's I think, yeah, it was good to see some consistent 5-on-5 hockey, and allowed you know, the Lightning to score, because you hadn't scored 5-on-5 more than once in a game, and you did that, you know, the 3 times on the Saturday and then Sunday as well. You know, you added some more. But yeah, talk us through the Sunday game. You fall behind 2-0. What's your mindset as a coach when that happens, and how did the team respond? Because, you know, it looked like they didn't miss a beat. It was just, you know, keep on keeping on.
Your analysis is spot on. Like, you know, we could feel it. We just felt like we had control of the game, and on the Saturday, and then coming into Sunday, we had confidence. And you know, the power play goal, obviously double screen, Emmy's not seeing anything, and then the other point shot, same sort of idea, where we've got too many bodies parked in front of our goalie, and it was the first 2 shots of the game. You know, I'd like to say that it doesn't have an effect on you, but you know, at that point, we're just looking at this going, okay, it's fine. We got ourselves in a bit of a hole here. We got to dig out. So it's time to go to work. And there was no heads hung. There was nothing. It was, yeah, let's go to work. We got this. And yeah, I very proud of the way they handled that, because it can go either ways, right? Either way, right? You can see the body language change, and that general feeling of oh crap come over the group, but it didn't. And they just Kelly had some good words for the team, and just everybody buckled down, and Amy never got down, and away we went. And it was, I think, it was only last week and I can't remember, but it was four in a row after that for us, right?
Yeah, 4 unanswered goals. It's and I think too on the Saturday, that goal that you scored to make it 3, because it was 2-0 and then 2-1. That third goal that you scored, I think in the second period, was absolutely huge. I think because Sydney had come back the previous weekend against the Melbourne Ice. They come back twice, once from 1-0 down to score 5 straight and win 5-1, and then 3-0 down to score 6 straight to win 6-3. But I think it psychologically, that's got to have an impact, right? When you can kind of get harder, that 2-goal lead.
No, it's almost harder, right? Like, the girls get fired up, and when you get fired up, you can lose focus. And that's one of the things that we're continuing to say on the bench. It's like, okay, it's done now. Time to go back to work. Like, okay, we've tied it. Okay, we're up by 1. Enough. Let's go. It's time to buckle down and go to work. And because you can see it happens to teams where they get a little cocky, they get a little loose. They're feeling pretty good about themselves, and they stop losing focus on what the objective is, and holes open up, and all of a sudden you can be back in trouble. So in some respects, a team that's feeling overly good about themselves is almost more dangerous than one that's in a hole. So it's a matter of getting everybody refocused and calm down and back to the game. So it can be a challenge both ways.
One player I just wanted to mention, because her skating was unreal. I thought, you've got some great skaters on your team, but this is someone that Madison LaPlante, I haven't really seen. I've watched the games obviously from this year, the games from Melbourne, Adelaide, but her skating, like the way she can get herself out of pressure, like evade pressure, is pretty special to watch. Is that your opinion as well?
Yeah, Maddie's great. Madzilla, I call her. She's a beast and loves the game. Just loves to play. She's actually from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada originally. That's where I'm also from. So kind of familiar with the program she was in over there, and you can see it on the ice. She's a high-level hockey player and great defender, super aggressive. Probably what impresses me most is about the way she seals the wall and keeps pucks in. Drops to a knee, full body seal, blows through a defender, or blows through a winger trying to execute a breakout, and keeps the puck in, and just has mastered the pinch. And she's got great wheels too. She can come up from behind and go up the ice. So she's great to have around. And she'd been away from the game for 2 years, 3 years, something like that. She hadn't been on the ice until she came to tryouts. So you can see every game she's kind of getting the mojo back and feeling pretty good. So she's great to have around, and fit into the group. Excellent, great attitude, super nice person, dedicated athlete. So she's been a great addition.
How hard is it, Matt, for imports such as her to slot in? The hockey culture is very different in Canada compared to Australia.
Yeah, she's actually got PR. So she's been in Queensland for a couple of years and just was completely unaware that there was hockey. So we could have had her a couple of years ago. So that, anyway, that's nothing we can do about that now. But she's noticed that. I mean, it's different, right? Like being a defender, she's thinking, off the glass and out. Well, there is no glass. And the way the officials call the game on the body, it's different than the way that she's grown up playing it. And, Olympic-sized rinks in most of the venues, there's those little subtle differences, right? And but she's figuring it out. And, I think just with her separation from the game and coming back, she's kind of not just learning everything again, not that she didn't know it, but it's just getting back into the rhythm. But I think it's been helpful almost that she's getting back into the rhythm with what we have and what's going on here and our type of game. So unlike, Emma last year, who came over from playing, in Europe and Div 1 hockey in the US and that sort of thing, and come over, it's, that was a hard shock for her to adjust to the Australian game. But I think Maddie's done really well with it.
Did you have any feedback from the players in relation to the new ice surface at Macquarie?
Saturday we should have brought our swim trunks. After a public session, the humidity was ridiculous. The Zamboni had done a full set of laps, and there was actually windrows of slush every lap, and we're like, you might want to cut that again, and they did. And by the third period, it was okay. But you could see in some of the footage, like girls the one puck stopped on the goal line because of the water. She, beat the goalie, and it literally went up to the goal line and just stopped on the goal line. It wouldn't go any further. And when you see girls making passes and water shooting off their sticks, it was pretty wild. I mean, the lines look fantastic. It looks great. But it was challenging on Saturday. But Sunday the ice was really good. We were in there nice and early, and it was nice and hard. So, and it's a wide rink. Man, that's a wide rink. It's got to be over regulation for sure. It's a big surface. There's a lot of space out there.
Yeah. Moving on to the Adelaide Melbourne series, a close game through the first two periods, and then the third period on Saturday, 8 goals scored, and it was a 2-2 game, and the Adelaide Rush did come away with the 7-5 win. Jordan Corbetta, 4 goals, including a third period hat trick. What did you make of? Did you watch the games, the Adelaide Rush Melbourne Ice games?
I caught most of the second game, just with the time. I think in the first game we were basically on together, so I've just sort of gone through the game in bits and pieces, just trying to glean what we can. But almost what I guess, look, I felt going into the weekend that Adelaide was going to come away with 2 wins. That's just what I felt. And they delivered. And I think the game kind of went off as I thought. I think the Saturday game, Adelaide's goaltending was really, really good. And what was the shot count in the Saturday game?
It was 40. The Adelaide Rush, it was something like 41-28. Let me bring it up just to 40-28. My apologies. I gave Adelaide an extra shot. Yeah.
And that's what you can expect from Adelaide, right? Like they're I think all season long they're going to be putting 40 plus shots on goal every game, and 28 shots from that talented group in Melbourne, like that says a lot, right? Like goaltending was pretty on. So that one seemed like a bit more of a battle, but yeah, Sunday kind of got loose there and really opened up. But it kind of what I expected, a high scoring game. Both of them in my opinion, but I think they're exciting games to watch, and really offensively talented teams. So just exactly what you'd expect out of it.
And it was interesting in that. Sorry, go, JJ.
No, you go, Eric.
It was interesting to have a look at the second period of Saturday's game, where Melbourne Ice actually scored two pretty quick goals, basically against the run of play. It was all Adelaide until that point, and the shot from Steph Cochran from way out in the distance just basically seemed to be a Hail Mary, just to throw it on net and see what happens. Then that last period, I know Sean who's not with us tonight, Sean O'Connor, he was watching it live, and just the amazement that he had with that last period. It must be a coach's nightmare to have the first 2 periods and then all of a sudden there's 8 goals in the period.
Yeah, it becomes a dogfight. Is really what it is, right? And sometimes you just got to let it go, I guess, right? And it worked out for Adelaide, but yeah, it's what you'd expect out of Melbourne. Like, they're not going to go quietly, right? So they're going to battle hard, and yeah, sometimes they just turn out that way. When you watch the pro leagues, it's the same thing. There are tight games, 1-0 games, and then you've got absolute blowouts where it's just goals running up left, right, and center. So sometimes you just got to roll with the punches and let the game, roll out the way it's going to. So, yeah, I don't know. Both those teams are great. I think Adelaide is definitely looking like the offensive juggernaut for this season. So I'm sure all the other coaches around the league are doing the same thing. Got to figure out a system. Got to come up with a game plan. Got to study the tape and figure out a way to shut them down and capitalize on their weaknesses. And that's all we can do, right?
If we can skip forward a bit, JJ, how do you go, Matt, playing the Perth Inferno in Perth this weekend? How do you go against a team that hasn't played hockey for a month? So you haven't got recent vision to see what they've been doing.
Yeah, we had enough vision. It's interesting, right? At the beginning of the season, you have no idea. I mean, the players, but you don't know what's going to really be the product on the ice. So you're kind of going in blind, and that's what we had in Melbourne. We went in with our vision and what our objective was, and really very little understanding of what we were expecting to see on the other side. It's hard to pivot on the road like that. I thought the girls did a pretty good job on Sunday. It was really one bad period on the weekend for us. After Imi had to leave the game with the puck to the head there, or neck. It's actually, she got hit right in the neck. But I've watched enough of the Perth tape to I feel like I have a very good understanding of what to expect. The girls we've shared the game plan, shared all the game tape. We've gone over everything. Everybody should be fairly prepped for what we're going to have to run into, but it's going to be hard too, right? I mean, they haven't been in a game in 3 weeks now. And I don't ever envy that slot. I mean, that's a hard one to, okay, we've been training and everything, that's fine. But we're coming off of back-to-back weekends, and we're going into our third weekend straight of games, and, 2 hours of ice every week in between, and 3 hours of ice every week in between. So, we'll see. I mean, I think we want to try and capitalize with a quick start, and just really figure out what we're dealing with on the other side. So it'll roll out the way it rolls out. But
so we were talking about logistics of flying down from Brisbane to Sydney. What are the logistics like this weekend, flying from Brisbane to Perth?
Well, we think we're clever. Last year we left on the Friday. It was an extra night of a comms, but it's worth it to get down there with the time change. And we ended up not arriving until 2 a.m. or something like that, with delay after delay after delay. Same thing this year. We're heading down Friday. Should, knock on wood, land around 9 p.m. and have a good rest and pretty breezy morning, and get ready for the game and kind of get adjusted to the time zone, and then play Saturday, play Sunday, fly out, get back around midnight on Sunday, and it's a big weekend on the Perth trips for sure. Yeah.
At least you don't have to do the red eye that the players usually do on AI weekends.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. It's not ideal rolling in at 6 a.m. and having to go to work.
Yeah, you can tell who are the rookies and who hasn't done a Perth road trip and who really needs the money, because they think they're going to work Monday morning.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of the guys that have done it before, they'll arrange to have Monday off, or they'll work Monday afternoon.
Yeah, but I think a lot of the teams still fly Saturday, right? So it's, in some respects, it's difficult, and Perth do it all the time. They've got big travel every weekend, right? So that they have to travel out of Perth. It's, Adelaide, I guess, being the closest, but it's big travel for them all the time. So just guess walk a mile in their shoes for one weekend. But I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a great opportunity for us to hopefully get another 6 points, and definitely expecting a hard battle. And, obviously you're going up against one of the best goalies in the league, theoretically. I'm assuming that she'll be playing in the games, and we've just got to solve that problem and hopefully come away with some wins.
Can we take you back a step, Matt? You also had the exhibition series against the Ducks. How were the Ducks looking?
Yeah, look, they have a lot of pride. Like, it's a great group. I think expansion in the league is obviously key, and it needs to happen. And they've got some good pieces there. And it'll be interesting to see what happens next year once they're like full-fledged in the league, and whether some of the ice players shift across or whether they don't. And it could even some things out there. But great ownership group, motivated group. It's great to host them. They're great players. Very appreciative of the opportunity to play with us. And yeah, it was great. I thought it was a great effort. So hopefully just something to build on for next year. And I think looking at the way they played the year prior compared to what we saw in Brisbane, they've made some significant improvement, and they've got some new pieces, and their goaltending was really good. So I'm excited to see what they can do next year.
And that would have also been a good experience for your team to do some things without points being on the line.
Yeah, it was a great opportunity to get a lot of girls in the mix. We've got 4 goalies associated with our team, and we've got our 2 main starters in Katie and Emmy, and Helen Alana and Kayla Arthur able to get a game. It was great for them too. It's a great experience, and some of the girls that don't necessarily always get ice time in games, and some of the cadets that are still coming up through the ranks, it was great for them to get out there and feel the pace. And so it was, I don't want to say we used it as a development opportunity, but yeah, it's kind of what we did. It was, we've got a development team coming up here, a team that's still building and putting pieces together. And the last thing we wanted to do was, roll 3 lines and put our starters in and hammer them. Like, it's not good for anybody, right? And again, it was a close game on the Saturday. It was exciting hockey. It was good. It was really good. So yeah, it was good. It was good to get some of the players some of that ice time and experience.
Speaking of close, this is the standings coming out of week 5, and Adelaide Rush, of course, at the top on 14, but then 2 points separate 2nd and 5th. Perth Inferno on 8 with 2 games in hand. Siren 7, Lightning 7, Melbourne Ice 6, and Melbourne Ice have lost 4 games in a row for the first time since.
Oh, you're throwing that out for us to guess, JJ?
Yeah, I'm just
Wouldn't know.
2016, December, January 2016, and one of those games was a loss in a shootout. All 4 games were against the Sydney Sirens at the time, back to back, twice in Sydney, then twice at O'Brien. Hasn't happened in a while, but yeah, the Melbourne Ice, defending champions at the moment, if the playoffs started today, would be on the outside looking in. But yeah, I mean,
the schedule is not really helpful either, right? They've got to go back and play Adelaide again, and I don't envy the position that the coaching group are in. Obviously, again, speaking from experience, 4 losses in a row, it's a lot of pressure, and I'm sure they're working diligently to figure out the magic sauce and put it together. But yeah, it's difficult, right? And they've got to run up against that high flying offense of Adelaide again. So I'm really interested to see that series and how it goes, and see what the results are. Obviously, it's an invested interest in my part if Adelaide wins both, but we'll see. It's going to be a telling weekend when they meet again.
Yeah, and a cool little thing is that all teams before the Christmas break will have played the same number of games, 8 games, and I don't remember that happening over the last couple of years. So shout out to the schedule makers. That's pretty cool. But just moving on, just to finish out the time before you have to leave for training. But we see the PWHL often, taking the lead in innovation. We've talked about the AWHL doing that as well on occasion. What are kind of some changes that you would like to see with the league to improve things from you a coaching perspective, and
Well, it'd be nice if we got our new regulations ratified. That's probably first and foremost. There is a committee of 5, people, subject matter experts from around the league. We all put our heads together with the commissioner, put a lot of time and effort into that rewrite, and to have it stall out in the bureaucratic process is very frustrating. There was a lot of changes in those regulations that I think would have greatly improved the game. Things like opening up rosters for a longer time so that players can be moving in and out up until Christmas. More imports per team, so everybody can have 4 playing instead of just the team that was in last. A lot of cleanup of definition and eligibility, and there's a lot of great stuff in those regulations. And I think, that is going to be the launching point for growth, right? We're adding a team into the league. Like we're still running off of regs that are essentially 2 years old and have barely been touched or changed. And look at what's happened in our league, and look at the way we've grown and developed. So I think it's a shame. It's probably actually more like an embarrassment that we're still running under those regulations, and that bureaucracy has stalled the ratification of those. I'm not holding my breath that they'll be done this year. It seems like it's completely stalled out, which is extremely unfortunate. Would like to have, that 30, 40 hours that I invested into it back so I can spend it with my family. But that can't happen. But I like a lot of the rule changes. I think, IIHF is looking at things like body contact and, opening that up. And I think the P-Dub's done a great job with that. Jailbreak rules. I like the one concept they're talking about when you get a penalty, keeping players on the ice that were on the ice for the penalty. So it's similar to like an icing where the penalized player leaves and the 4 that were trapped out there have to stay on the ice. Things like that, like innovation, like that's a fantastic rule. It changes a lot of things, right? You're not just going to heavily specialize on your 2 PK units. Everybody's going to need to know how to play the PK. There's all those things that really change the landscape and freshen up the game a little bit. I am a traditionalist at heart. I love, things like baby blue jerseys for away instead of 80% white jerseys kind of drive me insane, like that sort of thing. I'm a traditionalist in that sense, but I also like innovation. I think changing the rules to make a faster, more exciting game and to open it up would be great. So I think we have a really good product here, and we need to fan the flames instead of squash them down and snuff them out. And I kind of feel like that there are certain factions where that's happening. So that's my plug on let's get moving here, IHA. Let's get some stuff happening, and let's grow the game, because we've got a great opportunity here. So
was there like a reason given for the the regulations not being implemented, or was there like a request sent for a redraft on some things? Like, what's the process?
No, it took a lot of time to bring them together, working through the off season and collating all the changes and looking at some of the AI stuff and really cleaning up the format. I mean, it's a lot of work. It's a ton of work, right? And meeting after meeting after meeting and debate and change, and so they probably came in a little bit late. But I was sort of under the impression that the commissioner of the league is part of this group. It would be a rubber stamp from the governing body, and away we go. And to just get no, that's essentially what we got, was no. And I mean, I'm not in the communication chain as far as directly with the governing body, but that's essentially what we're being told, is it's just no. So haven't received a marked up copy of concerns, or as far as I know anyway, that's the last I checked, was that it's just been quiet. So it's disappointing, and look, it's an army of volunteers, right? And nobody's getting paid to do this. I think there's 1 or 2 people paid in the country that are working in the administration of the Ice Hockey Australia and these leagues. It is volunteer time, and people sacrifice and give their time up, right? So I totally understand that. But at the same time, when we put our hands up to take these roles on, you're committed. You're saying you're going to do it. Let's do it. And so, I wish I had more to share with you other than just no.
Yeah.
So, Matt, we've got 2 weeks to go before the Christmas break. Then we've got the Christmas break and also U18 Worlds. So what will the team be doing over Christmas, and when will you come back and start to focus on the remainder of the season?
Yeah, we train right up to Christmas. We're taking the week off for Christmas, and we're back at it. We're one of the first games back on the schedule in early January. So, yeah, we're excited to just sort of keep our foot on it. A lot of the younger players are obviously done school. Uni's on break. We've got to be the most medically trained team in the league. We've got, I think, 6 physios, girls with masters. We've got a doctor, 3 med students. Like it's insane, right? So these girls are pretty committed to their studies as well. So that was a bit of a challenge for us at the beginning of the year, was navigating exam times and trainings and stuff. So I'm kind of happy that all that's over now and we can get focused on the important stuff that's hockey. But yeah, so we'll just keep our foot on the gas and be ready for when we come back. Katie and Katrina are heading over to the U18s from our team, and Georgia, who's on our roster but still playing in North America. She's doing excellent over there, so we don't expect to actually see her this year at all. It was a good idea to put her on there just in case, but she's thriving over there, so we miss her. But yeah, so bit of an impact there, missing a D and one of our goalies for our first series back. But then after that, we've just got to stay focused and hammer down and ride it out to finals and just cling on. Like we want to earn one of the 4 spots, right? Like that's the big focus of the team right now, is to be on the inside.
Yep. Brilliant. Well, time has run out, but we really appreciate you coming on the show, Matt, and being so generous with your time, getting to the rink early. I mean, why wouldn't you want to spend time in Acacia Ridge ice rink? It's an heirloom.
It's the gem, absolutely.
Yeah,
Ice is not bad here though. It's pretty good. So
yeah,
no, we're looking forward to it. Again, appreciate you guys, everything you do for the sport, all the exposure that you have, and it's always a pleasure. I'm a fan. I like to tune in and hear what's going on, and sometimes I argue with your opinions about my team, but it's all good. Driving down the road, listening to the podcast, what are these guys talking about? But most of the time, you're spot on. But yeah, no, I really appreciate everything you guys do for the league, and keep it up.
Yeah.
Do you listen when you're watching the games back, Matt? Do you turn GG down?
No, there's actually been a few times though where I've sent him messages where he's made a comment. I'm like, actually, and hopefully he doesn't take it personally. It's just it's more of a ribbing than anything. So I think it's been fun. I really enjoyed the media and the exposure and the commentary, and it's all been fantastic. Like it's been great the last couple of years.
Yeah. No, it's great. And Phil Taylor, great insights. Matt sharing his appreciation. Jamie Goonan, when we were talking about the regulations, we're waiting for the regulations to be approved.
I thought she was saying she was waiting for Matt to turn up to training.
They should all be warming up right now, so it should be fine.
Yeah. But no, appreciate you coming on. You have been listening to or watching the weekly Wraparound. We are Hockey Hype Australia. You can find us at hockeyhypeaustralia.com.au, on the socials at hockeyhypeaus. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. On behalf of us, I'm going to see if I can end the stream smoothly. But on behalf of us, thank you for listening. Thanks for supporting hockey, and we will see you next time.